Okay, so it's time for a lovely Monday webinar slash our weekly watch list, all the things that I think are going to be important and or interesting to trade this week. So let's have a look at all of that. We'll see how that goes. Some very interesting setups that I'm liking a lot, so let's get right down to business. So one little detail to mention here, this is the last publicly free Monday webinar watch list. This is the last one. And after this, you'll need any type of membership level with the trading group. I have two levels. There's a cheaper and a more expensive one. Any one of those are good for attending this webinar and getting the live recording. But what we're going to do, I've delayed things, and to answer your question a little bit there, Mel, last week was going to be the last week, and this week is the last week because I needed some time to think of one more option, and I think I've come up with another option here because my goal more than anything is to make sure that people can get, some additional trade ideas, feel like they're part of a little bit of a group, and all of that. I don't want to kick anybody out, so I need a little bit of time, and it came to me a few days ago, and it's taking a little bit of time to finish up the details. But any membership level can attend the Monday webinars. And those that, have commitment phobia, against any type of monthly billing or anything, I have decided that technically I'm able to do a per time, and it's a really easy setup, and you can just pay a small fee, a couple of dollars, and attend Monday webinars and have the recording to review, all week long and all of that. You can buy chunks of them, 3 or 4 or 5 at a time, and get a lesser price on them. So they'll be really, really cheap, really affordable for everybody that does not already have a membership. If you have a membership, then you get the benefits of attending the Monday webinar, plus daily video updates, plus live trade calls throughout the week as well. The Monday webinar, for those that just want the Monday webinar by itself, that will opt to buy the per time or little packages of it, I will be posting more details. I'll be posting the Monday webinar. I'll have very specific trades and stop loss areas that I can see at this point right now. Now, it's very common that we come up with new trades and new ideas on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, but all of the trade ideas that I have in mind for the week at the start of the week, I'll include that in the webinar, the Monday webinar, and the access that you'll get. I'll include some charts and some specific entries and exits as I see them at the beginning of the week, and then that will be it until next week. But there will be more details than I include in our current Monday webinars because I'm always holding back a little bit because I don't want to specifically give away all the trades that we're doing within the group for paid members because then it kind of defeats the purpose of being a paid member. And I don't want those that are paying to be members of the group to feel like people that are just attending for free get the same amount of information. So I've been holding back a little bit on that and trying to keep it general to, keep the entries a little more general. I'll be a lot more specific with those once it becomes a paid version. So that's the details on that, and that will all be finalized. Everybody will be seeing an email regarding that in the next 24 hours or so, and I'll send that out along with the recording of this webinar here. Okay, so stop by Day Traders FX. Great time to get a free trial to the trade group. We're right at the beginning of the week. I think we have some very exciting things happening this week, and I'm looking forward to it. We have a ton of news. I don't love it when we have this much news because there's like a surprise event every day that's market moving, and it's pretty crazy. So we have UK interest rate news this week. We have non-farm payroll. So we have US and Canadian employment numbers this week. We have a lot of New Zealand news. We have a lot of Aussie news. We have Aussie interest rate news later on today. It's a heavy news week, and so we're going to have several live sessions this week to cover some of the various events that I think are going to be the most interesting and the best ones to follow. So we'll have a few of those this week. Should be exciting. Should be some pretty great news trading events coming up. U.S. markets did a whole bunch of nothing today. We had a huge finish on Friday. What did the market close at? Like 300, like almost 400 points in the positive. On Friday, and then all of that momentum just went down the toilet. Nothing great is happening. Pretty flat day. today with U.S. markets. Oil's back down. We saw oil starting to rally because of a whole bunch of different reasons, along with the fact that people are just buying it up now. Oil may be at a short-term bottom. We'll see. I think mid-20s was probably the low for oil, but we'll know more about that as we go. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Here's a couple of charts. I showed some of these charts last week, and here's a little update of those charts and so on. So let's have a little look at that. And yes, Simon, that is an interesting point. Indeed, we're seeing a lot of. There's a couple of reasons for that, and we're going to talk about that for sure. But let's look at this really quick, and kind of what we have in relation to some of the commodity pairs, some of the various things here. We have the Australian dollar versus the S&P here in the U.S. And you can see that they match each other pretty well. They seem to trade together fairly well. It's an interesting chart to keep an eye on. Excuse me. And they seem to be, the Australian dollar seems to be bottoming out at this lower level here. The S&P has had a big triple bottom as well at this lower level. Australian dollars had a pretty big bottom at that level. We're starting to see these both rise together. And that's kind of an interesting chart. The chart that I kind of love the most is the dollar yen versus the S&P. So to kind of compare those two, we see Aussie dollar kind of triple bottoming, and the S&P along with that. We see the dollar yen having kind of a big triple bottom here. If we zoom this guy out just a little bit, we can see that even better. So big triple bottom here. I think we have to zoom it out even more. There we go. So we've had some big bottoms right there. Did I just say big bottoms? And so that's a nice little support zone right there. Thanks, Simon. Thank you. And the S&P is experiencing that same support zone down here. So what does that tell us about a couple of things? It tells us that we like buying opportunities on the dollar yen. I did, owner. Oh man. So we have some interesting buying opportunities on the dollar yen. There's some interesting buying opportunities, I think, on the S&P. Probably adds to some interesting buying opportunities on Aussie dollar. These are all kind of just lining up fairly well. I like this chart quite a bit. Here is the dollar index versus the S&P. Dollar index has been kind of triple topping. We have basically a triple top on the dollar index, along with our triple bottom down here on the S&P. So you can see those very, very nicely. Big topping outs and big bottoming outs right here, and very nice movement there. And yeah, that's right. Indeed, this is all being recorded, unfortunately, for some of us. So we have these nice little patterns that are emerging that are doing super, super well. And then we have, this is just the same chart. I was comparing another one that is pretty irrelevant to that. So we have some pretty good reasons to believe that we're seeing some nice bottoming out on things like S&P. Stocks in general look like they're bottoming out. And it looks like, basically the point I'm trying to make here is I think we're going to start to see some pretty decent dollar weakness. So I'm starting to look for a big amount of dollar weakness. We've seen a bunch of that already this week. Let's go to U.S. dollar pairs for just a moment. We see dollar weakness pretty consistently across the board. Here's New Zealand dollar, movement up. Here's Aussie dollar, movement up. Dollar yen, a little bit of a different story there. Pound dollar moving up. Euro dollar moving up. Dollar Swiss francs a little bit flat. Dollar CAD moving down. Gold moving up. We're basically completely consistently seeing U.S. dollar weakness across all pairs right now. We're seeing some good dollar weakness. So I like that play. The next play that I like here, and we're going to talk about some of these a little more specifically. The next play I like here is we're seeing very consistent pound strength across the board. One of my favorite charts is the pound dollar. The pound dollar has shown some very nice bottoming out patterns and price activity here. So many charts I can't keep up with which one I'm supposed to be looking at here. There we go. Here's the pound dollar. Here are some pretty significant lows down here, about 135. We dipped down to about 140. It's up a couple hundred pips off that low. This is, I mean, without a doubt, I don't think anybody can really argue that this is at the bottom of this horizontal channel that goes back to about 2000, end of 2008, early 2009, where we just had all this sideways activity. We're down at the bottom of that support. We're seeing a lot of signs that the US dollar might be headed for some weakness. And we've seen some pretty consistent trends. The pound for the for the latter half of 2014 into 2015 dropped like a rock. We had a little bit of a recovery, and then it makes another big push down. The pound just gets obliterated, and now it's at these lows. So the pound's at kind of some extreme lows. We see the euro dollar has been bouncing around some extreme lows. If we go back for just a moment to the US dollar pairs here, what one chart that I like all these charts really actually, but you can see that we have year and a half to give or take movements towards US dollar strength and weakness of the other currency pairs. So New Zealand dollar has run down to extreme levels and it's starting to bottom. Gold, a little bit of a different story there. We have the Aussie dollar, which has had a year and a half worth of movement down. That's a pretty consistent US dollar, or excuse me, currency trend in general. That's a pretty consistent currency trend where we see a consistent run of about a year and a half. Some can definitely go a lot more than others. Some can go 2 years and 3 years. Yen pairs went straight up for like 3 years. And that's a little bit of a different story because of the yen situation, but the average currency pair that we look at has around a pretty decent range of a 1 to 2 year trend, and most of these are over a year and a half worth of downtrend movement. Aussie dollar is down into these big lows. Dollar CAD, we don't even need to look at this chart to see that that's up into some major highs. Dollar Swiss franc is look at this dollar Swiss franc chart. It's coming up into multi-year highs, a big triple top up here, ready to move back towards some US dollar weakness. Pound dollar, we've already looked at that one, and euro dollar has had a massive run and is showing some bottoming out patterns here as well. So I am ultimately looking for the big trade. I think of 2016 is going to be the trade towards US dollar weakness. I think that's what I'm leaning towards on a lot of things. Now, my day-to-day trades, I'm going to trade what I see, and I'm going to trade the plenty of good opportunities that we see. But I think one of the big trades is going to be trading dollar weakness, U.S. dollar weakness. So I like that. Here are some things that I'm pretty excited about trading this week. If we look at the Aussie dollar, we see very consistent Aussie strength. Except for we have a little bit of a bigger run on the New Zealand dollar, but Australia is holding pretty strong, at least the last little bit. It's been holding its own. The pound has been on a massive run, but we've seen the Australian dollar kind of hold its own a little bit there. And we've just seen some pretty good Aussie strength across the board, so I'm looking to trade Aussie strength this week. We've already got a trade running on one of the Aussie pairs that's looking decent. It's been up and down and all around, and I like the trade, and I think we have some good opportunity there. So I'm going to be looking to trade some Aussie strength this week. We are going to talk in just a moment about all the U.S. dollar weakness that we see. One setup that I like quite a bit here with the Australian dollar, US dollar being at some lows is we have still a fairly minimally developed head and shoulders pattern, or played out head and shoulders pattern. I like this head and shoulders pattern, inverse head and shoulders pattern on the Australian dollar 4-hour chart. It's broken above the neckline, which was right here at about 70.50. We're only at 7100. It's only 50 pips or so past this. I like buying dips and trading this Australian dollar up to about 72.50. So at least 150 pips higher than where it currently is, and I think we can get a dip of another, anywhere from 25 to 50 pips to really improve that entry and trade that up into 72.50. So I think there's going to be a nice 200 pips, give or take, on the Australian dollar this week. I like trading that. We've got a trade running with this one already. We have the Euro Aussie, a nice regular head and shoulders pattern on the 4-hour chart. This should play out very nicely and be good for several hundred pips. I'm kind of liking trading everything down into monthly pivots. We have this nice monthly pivot on the Aussie dollar up here at 72.50. We have a nice monthly pivot from January on the Euro Aussie down here at about 148.50. I like that. I think those are some really good setups. I'm not doing anything on Aussie New Zealand or Aussie CAD because we have a lot of Canadian strength. We have a lot of New Zealand strength. So I don't want to trade pairs that are strong against each other. I don't want to trade two strong pairs, or excuse me, two strong currencies in a pair, or two weak currencies. We want to see ones where there's pretty consistent strength and weakness. So so we've seen some of these other pairs are kind of in holding pattern for me. So I'm going to focus most of my energy on the Aussie Euro Aussie this week and trying to get short and stay short on that one, and the Aussie dollar this week as well, and trying to get long and stay long on that one as well. So I like that whole setup. Remember that we're seeing, as far as with pairs such as the euro goes, we're seeing pretty consistent euro weakness. There's not a lot of euro strength going on here. It's the euro's not excessively weak, but there's definitely no strength associated with the euro to start this week off. Excuse me. We have so much US dollar weakness that we're seeing the euro moving higher against the US dollar, but I don't think that's euro strength. I think that's more US dollar weakness, because we see euro moving lower against New Zealand, moving lower against CAD, kind of flat on the yen pairs, again a bit of a different story, lower against Aussie, lower against pound, and it's just moving up against the US dollar. So we have some pretty good weakness on the euro. So I'm going to be looking for opportunities to be shorting the euro versus some of the strong pairs. Now, euro dollar, going to stay out of that one and just try to do anything, minimal activity on euro dollar, because they're both kind of weak. But I think I think we could have some interesting opportunities on euro pound. We've already talked about euro Aussie as a good possibility, and euro CAD may give us some decent opportunities. One that I'm really liking right now is euro New Zealand, and we're seeing a lot of pairs with 4-hour head and shoulders patterns on them. In the euro New Zealand, we've seen some pretty good New Zealand strength and some pretty consistent euro weakness, and so we have this nice head and shoulders pattern on the euro New Zealand 4-hour chart, and it's just starting to break through this ascending neckline slash trend line right here. So I think there's going to be some opportunities in euro New Zealand to start getting into this and trading it down as well. Remember, if this makes a decent break, we've got profit potential all the way down into these lows of about 158, 15900, 158.50, somewhere in that general area. So Euro New Zealand looks super fantastic. Loving this one. Euro CAD will probably give us some decent opportunities this week. I haven't loved the Euro CAD, and I don't know that I'm going to do too much with this one this week. But I will be doing some trades on Euro Pound towards Euro weakness. We're going to stay in our Euro Aussie trade and trade that towards Euro weakness, Aussie strength, and we're going to be looking for opportunities to get into Euro New Zealand. So I think this is going to be a great little trade. Okay, so far we've talked about we have medium slash fairly decent Aussie strength. We have pretty consistent euro weakness. We have very consistent US dollar weakness. The CAD pairs are moving like crazy as well, so we have some good opportunities on Canadian pairs. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with the Canadian pairs yet this week. So these are going to kind of be in development. I think we've seen some big moves on Canadian pairs already, and I don't know where the next leg of fantastic activity is going to be. Remember, with the pound CAD, we've seen pound strength, but we have Canadian strength as well. New Zealand, it's a mixed bag there again as well. We have pretty good New Zealand strength. Australia is pretty good at the strength situation. So dollar CAD would probably be one of the few, and possibly Euro CAD, but I'm probably not going to do much on Canadian pairs this week. I think we have better opportunities trading Australian strength, trading pound strength, trading Euro weakness, trading dollar weakness. New Zealand, here's the New Zealand pairs really quick. Quick little peek here. I like these New Zealand pairs. We have an inverse head and shoulders pattern on New Zealand yen, and that's breaking out and making a nice little run there. Price projection on this guy puts us still up around the monthly pivot. We're about halfway there. There's going to be opportunities to continue trading this Euro New Zealand yen. It's coming up to the next resistance level. Buying dips, buying breaks, I think are going to be good opportunities. We have a decent but not amazing inverse head and shoulders pattern on New Zealand dollar, and you can see that we've kind of confirmed this shoulder right here. So we have shoulder, head, shoulder, and our choppy, crazy-looking neckline in this little area here. I think there's going to be some nice opportunity to buy New Zealand dollar versus the U.S. dollar this week. So I'm going to be looking for that as an opportunity. Nice little inverse head and shoulders pattern trading up to the monthly pivot. I think that's going to be a good opportunity. Excuse me. We talked about the Euro New Zealand already. New Zealand yen buying some pullback. And I'll probably stay out of the other two because, again, we have pound strength and New Zealand strength. We have New Zealand strength and CAD strength. So I don't want to trade anything where there's two consistently strong currencies in the pair. So I'm going to be focusing my energy on New Zealand dollar, Euro New Zealand, and New Zealand yen. As far as New Zealand pairs go. So I think those are going to be fantastic. And then we have yen pairs, and I think that we're going to see some pretty good movement. The yen will continue probably to weaken even more. Japan has adopted negative interest rates, deposit rates, and remember the yen kind of moves along with stocks and so on. And as long as this chart right here is the chart to watch. This is the chart of like 2016. I can't really emphasize how important this chart is. If we hold this triple bottom on S&P and we hold that triple bottom on dollar yen, then that's the bottom of the market for this year, for right now. If those levels break, and they probably would break pretty simultaneously, then we have probably a major free fall coming. But those triple bottoms have held very, very well. And as long as they continue to hold, then we have, we don't have a big panic sell-off in the markets, and we won't see super madness. But if those, if they do go, it's going to get crazy. If they continue to hold, then we're going to be looking to continue trading, yen pairs higher. I think there's going to be pretty good. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders pattern on Aussie yen. Buying dips on that's going to be great. Pound yen made this major run down, gave us an inverse head and shoulders pattern, and has run up very nicely here as well. So pretty much trading most of the yen pairs to the upside is going to be a pretty safe bet this week. So just to kind of reiterate, of these pairs we talked about, U.S. dollar weakness looks like a pretty safe bet. That could change as we get to the end of the week with non-farm payroll. New Zealand looks like a pretty good, strong currency to trade this week. Always looking to just kind of trade yen pairs long. Pound is looking very strong this week. Euro is looking neutral to weak this week. Canada is having some pretty decent strength, and Australia is having some decent strength. So that's kind of the direction I'm going to trade that. And so keep that in mind. This is obviously recorded. You can rewatch this and so on. I'm going to probably post a little bit of a list of this and suggest some pairs to bring together. So obviously if we have some great pound strength and we see some dollar weakness, the pound dollar long is going to be great. Euro weakness, the pound euro pound short is going to be a good trade. New Zealand strength, New Zealand against US dollar is going to be a good trade. New Zealand against euro is going to be a good trade. New Zealand against yen is going to be a good trade. And so that's going to be kind of what I'm looking at trading this week. So we'll get down to that. Okay, guys, I'm going to get this recording posted, and then I'll answer some questions, and I'll talk about anything that you guys have questions about. So let's get this recording up right now.